Oh, I hadn't started recording yet. All right. Okay. So, all right. Can I ask your age?
32. I'll be 33 in September. I'm a Virgo. Virgo the Virgin. That's what they call me. It's true.
You have that on a jacket?
No, it's a... not what they call me, it's what astrologists call me.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe it was a club. I was like, oh, I could have been in that into my 20s.
No,
okay.
Google it.
All right. So now, where are you from originally?
I was born in Berlin.
Germany?
Mhm.
Was not
Ich kann ein
expecting.
bisschen Deutsch sprechen, aber nicht sehr gut. I can speak a little German, but not very well.
Why were you born in Berlin? Army brat?
My dad was in the Air Force.
Air Force.
Yep.
Wow. How'd you end up in Oregon?
Well, so I grew up in California and went to high school and went to college, and then like you reach this point in college at the end, you're like, oh crap, now I have to find a job. And I was in like 3 months from graduation, and I thought, all right, I gotta find a job. So I applied in Oregon, Colorado, and Montana. I had never been to any of those states, but I knew I didn't want to live in California anymore. and Oregon picked me, so I came here.
So where'd you go to school in California?
I went to a couple different colleges. I went to University of Santa Barbara. That was probably my favorite.
Yeah, I'll bet. I've seen their campus.
Oh yeah, that's where I was introduced to jungle juice. That was awesome. And then my dad got sick. He got cancer, and so I moved back to where I grew up and went to community college for a little bit, played volleyball there, and then I graduated from Cal State San Bernardino.
Where'd you grow up?
In this little town called Apple Valley, famous for Roy Rogers.
Apple Valley.
Apple Valley. There are no apples there.
Sounds like Norman Rockwell should be. All right, and so you've got a bachelor's.
I do.
In what?
I have a bachelor's in sociology.
And you got a master's, right?
I do.
What's that?
Debating. Just kidding. I was gonna go somewhere else. My master's is in human services, like with a focus in school counseling. Yeah. And I'm in school right now too. And
are you really?
In a couple years, you will have to call me Dr. Roller.
Oh my God! So you're getting a PhD?
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm only 4 weeks into it, so I
Where are
don't
you
know if
doing
I'll
that?
make it. Capella, where I got my master's. Yeah.
Is that where? Did Kim Reed go there?
Kim, she got her
Okay. It's like,
her
how do I
master's
know
degree
that?
there for psychology.
Got a PhD. I tried that. I was in the PhD program for all 4 months.
Yeah, I don't know how it's gonna go. We'll
And I
see.
looked up one day, and it was like every professor I was working with was like, I can't stand you. Why do I want to be you? So I left.
Yeah, I don't know what I'll do with it, but yeah, I don't have a husband. I have free time every night. And
Jeez.
no, really, I mean,
How does anybody with 2 kids say they have free time every night?
well,
Please.
they go to bed at 7:30, and then
What?
yeah, they go to bed. They
How'd
sleep.
you score
They
that?
sleep 7:30. I train them. They know they don't
What?
get mommy attention after 7:30. They just give up.
Last night at 9 o'clock, Noah. The girl's a spaz. I don't know where she gets it. So when you came to Taft, I mean, were you looking to get to the beach, or
No.
was it I am looking to get employed?
Yeah. So again, I worked for the state. I worked for DHS. I investigated child abuse for about 5 years right out of college. And when I was in college, I thought, I want to be a social worker, but I never want to be one of those social workers who takes people's kids away. And then that was the first job that I got out of college.
Nice.
So, and I learned a lot, and it was hard, and I was young. I was 23. I had a baby when I was 23, and then another one a couple years later, little Leo, and I kind of realized, and then I was single during that time. DHS was not a good fit for me, so I went back to school, and here comes graduation again. Oh crap, I gotta find a job.
Isn't school a wonderful way to put
I
off the
know,
inevitable?
I know.
All right,
So
remind me how old Leo is,
Leo's 5,
and Lex is...
he's 9.
Okay.
And so here comes graduation again, and I applied California, Oregon, and Washington. I applied at probably over 80 schools. Anywhere, anybody, even Alaska. I was ready to go to this little village in Alaska. I was going to go anywhere to get a job.
Now, where did you graduate from with your master's?
Capella.
Capella. Okay.
Yeah.
That's right.
And I got one interview. One out of all those. Taft. Taft is the only place that interviewed me. I have no idea how I got picked. So I I go through the interview process. I'm in the 12, final 12 from hundreds of applicants. Get to the 12. I interview, and I interview pretty, I'm a charismatic person.
Yeah.
I interview pretty well. I make it to the final 3. So here's the funny part. Scott doesn't want me. Diana and Sandy, everybody else, they want me, but Scott doesn't want me. So then I have 3 interviews. First 2 are with Scott and a bunch of other people, and then my 3rd one's at the district office with the assistant superintendent and Tiana and then another counselor. And it was down to 2 of us, and they picked me. I mean, so I'm at this point, it's like April, I have no money, I'm about to be homeless, I haven't had a job, school's about to be over. I have 1 U-Haul scheduled to go to California in case something doesn't work out, and I have a U-Haul to go to Lincoln City. I have 2 reservations, and I'm not sure where I'm going.
Jeez.
Yeah, and I mean, so I have no money left anymore, and they want me to drive to Lincoln City. 3 times I had to come out here. I mean, it was such an experience, and I was like, if I don't get that job, I'm never going to Lincoln City again, ever, ever.
I will write the Chamber of Commerce.
I mean, in my 2nd interview with Scott and Tiana, or Sandy and Diana were there, and I get towards the end, and they ask one more question, and Scott says, "Oh, I've already heard this," and gets up and leaves my interview, and oh no, that's a bad sign. But now it's funny, and he's glad that I'm here, and I won him over.
Yeah, I may lead with that. So what was your title at DHS?
Social service specialist.
So now, what was your average day like? I mean, what did you do from 9 to 5?
Yeah, 9 to 5.
Yeah, right.
There's not an average day in DHS. I mean, you never know. For the first couple of years, I just went out on general calls. So, call comes into the hotline from a school. There's a kid that has marks or bruises, or these people are using drugs, or just all kinds of different things. Towards the end, what kind of made me realize I can't do this anymore, because I don't think that's a career. I think it's a time in your life. It's a season.
Yeah.
So I had the hospital caseload. So any kid that was hurt enough to have to go to the hospital, so like a kid that was shaken, or the parents tried to, wrap them up and put them in the trash can and then any baby that was born drug affected, so mom goes in the hospital, tests positive for meth. So any kid that ended up in the hospital, that was my last 2 years. That was awful. I mean, it was awful, because I have Lex, who's like 3 at the time, and then I have this newborn baby, and I'm all alone. It was bad, so that was.
You were taking stuff home, so to speak?
I
mean, not the bad things, just the stress.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I have pretty good, self-care. I knew, I took a vacation every 3 months. I always had something planned, something to look forward to. But I think it messed up my view of the world. I mean, my older son, I investigated sex abuse and child abuse and just so much bad stuff that my kids, they can't go into public bathrooms if I don't let them. I mean, it just messed up. I mean, we were really involved in the church, and not that I thought my church was bad, but just,
yeah.
I was so, because it could happen to any kid, and it's always somebody you know. I mean, it was never like somebody drove a white van down the road and snatched you up. I mean, it was always a boyfriend and uncle, and so I was so protective of my own kids that I couldn't just enjoy being a person,
You find that gets easier with distance, or is it still?
Yeah, because I'm not seeing it every day. I'm not sitting with a 5-year-old or a 13-year-old asking them about somebody touching them inappropriately, or I'm not going to a house that's literally has shit in it, like literally in the house where the kids sleep, and drugs, and so yeah, there's a smell, there's a DHS smell, and every once in a while, I'll smell it on a kid here, and it just brings back this oh man, you got something bad, you have a, and it's not rich or poor, it's not a poverty smell, it's a drugs, dirty house. I mean, when I'm talking dirty, I'm talking it's a crime. It's so dirty. Not like my house where I just haven't picked some things up. I have some laundry to do. It's you get arrested. It's that bad. So
do you, and I know you can't go into detail, obviously, but every teacher, I think, sits in this school or everyone that works here, forget the teacher, all of us. And you see kids that just, there's something about it that just, it rings your bell. And you know whatever they're going home to, it's not right.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, most of us don't have the professional background to actually look at something and say, okay, I've seen a million times that A, B, C, and D always leads to E. And so I may see E and suspect it. You find a lot of our kids, you just know what's going on. I mean, not literally what's going on,
Yeah.
but I mean, it's just.
I think so. I think you know that something's not right. And, you know, it's hard because you always think, I mean, as a counselor now, when I work for DHS, I always thought, take this kid and put him in a different family, a different situation, and their life would be different. I mean, I had a case where I investigated when the girl was little, and I ended up removing the girl. There were drugs, and mom had mental health issues, and mom ended up going to Oregon State Hospital, and it was bad. And then about a year later, the court sent her home, sent the daughter back home with mom. She was rehabilitated, and so then about 2 months later, we get an after-hours call that the emergency, the ambulance had gone there, and the police had gone there, and the little girl, she was about a year and a half now, had stopped breathing. And so later, after all the investigation, she would cry, and the mom would stuff baby wipes down her throat, and so she stopped breathing. And she had done this several times, and this time it just went too far. So now she's nothing. She can't walk, she can't move, she can't talk. She's in a foster home forever. She had nothing. I mean, she lays there. She has no purposeful movement. And I think about that kid, and had she been in a different family, because you always think, like, situations are bad, but putting them in a foster home isn't always a better option either. But if you could take that kid before something, ruins their life, literally, they could have, an outcome could be different. And so I think about kids here, and their life is this pot, this huge stuff. And I hope that a tap were just a drop of something good in there. I don't think we can fix all kids. But we can be that one.
Maybe the drop is a catalyst for something else.
Yeah.
You find, I know for me, having traveled a lot and done a lot of really odd things before I got here, those are all in my sort of tool bag, and they kind of inform the way I do my job. It's why I like teaching global studies. I've been to 30 countries, and so I can talk about China from the standpoint of
I've been there.
somebody who's actually bought an eel and swallowed it.
Yeah.
Do you find that pool of experience with DHS, is that something that is just always there, or is it something you almost sometimes have to turn off?
I have a different lens now. Before it was all investigating. So when I would talk with a kid, as a DHS worker, I wasn't counseling them or talking to them about their feelings. I was investigating, and then I remove them, don't remove them, and then they go on. I didn't maintain a relationship.
Yeah.
I didn't see change. So I think now my lens is different. It's not my job to investigate if abuse is happening or not. If I think that, then somebody else. It's always kind of there. I always tell kids this when they're like, well, I don't want to tell you. And I'm like, I've heard so much. Nothing that you're not going to shock me. You're not going to, make me grossed out. You're not going to, so I think that it's still there, but it's different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you, like I say, I saw a few things. In terms of just your own kids, I know it's going to sound like an ultimate cliche question. Do you hug them a little tighter?
Yeah, there were nights. I had to go to funerals of kids, and I had to see bad things, and so. But I'm not a perfect mom. I lose it on them, and I feel guilty, and then, yeah. When they were little and it was just me, I remember thinking, had I not had this support, or had I made some different life choices, I could be right there where some of my clients were. you know, had there not been people in my life to help me and support me. And kids are hard. I've freaked out on them, and you know, I've never committed but I've felt that when I imagine people feel like when they snap. So when you snap, you're using drugs a lot. You have no support. I mean, you have nothing. So I can see, not that it makes it right, but I can see, I've been there where I've like, oh, I wanted to snap, but I have someone to call, or I have my own bedroom to go to. I don't have 30 people living in my house. I did that one time too. Oh yeah, I mean, I think I get in private, but I think I get pretty nostalgic about things with my kids. I mean, that's probably, I mean, yeah.
Going to the other side of the spectrum, I would imagine as a counselor in high school, you may hear kids occasionally whine about that life isn't fair and blah, blah, blah. Do you ever just want to look at them and go, do you have any idea of how perfect your life is? Shut up.
No, I don't think so, because so kids that are abused that I used to see, and then kids now, they still love their parents. I mean, their parents do awful things, but it's still there. There's something there, and so to our kids, what a parent does, I mean, that's a big thing in their life or whatever. I mean, we're older, so we know it's a cycle. Yeah. It's like, okay, you know.
I was whiny too.
But, yeah.
I actually said that to Tiana the other day, because one of the things that's hardest for me in teaching is I remember this stuff. You know, I hated my teachers. I was like, I'm never going to do those things. And I've decided some of those things I really need to do, because it just makes my classroom management. And I did say to her, I kind of laughed, and I said, and I'm also having to come to the realization that I am not as perfect in high school as I seem to remember.
Yeah.
She just laughed.
Yeah. I think I have a little empathy for kids that, you know, complain about their parents or their teachers. I mean, I had a crappy mom, and teachers, I had a bad attitude in high school. Teachers did not like me. It was not good. I mean, I don't know.
What did they, when you think of the teachers, I mean, obviously when you were in high school, did you ever think you'd be working in a high school?
No, not really. No, no.
Do you find there are certain things that you do or don't say to your students based on the things you remember from high school?
I don't remember much. I really don't. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I'm getting older. I don't remember much of high school. I played volleyball. That was like consumed everything about my time, and I didn't really get in trouble. I didn't go to parties. I just had a bad attitude, and I was sassy. I was really mouthy. I kind of still am, but I've grown up a little. I have more. But
more filters.
More of a filter, yeah. No, I don't really remember high school that much.
Isn't that interesting?
I know.
But I remember everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I got stuff in the locker.
And I had, like, I think it's still this way in my life. I know a lot of people. I have a lot of friends. So I liked everybody, but I didn't have, like, real friends.
Yeah.
Like, I don't let very many people very close.
You don't keep in touch with anybody from high school or anything?
I do.
Really?
You know, a couple.
That's good.
Yeah, a couple people, but
yeah,
it's still, I don't know. For a counselor, I should be able to develop closer relationships, but I don't know, it's just not something I
we'll
do.
just keep you here long enough.
I don't know.
So now, kind of switching gears, so when you went back to graduate school, well, actually rewind before that, were you an undergrad were you done with undergrad when you had Lex?
No, so I had 2 more quarters left of college. So Lex was born December 27th. He was born in winter break. And I went back to school in January and finished the year, and then I graduated in June. And then we moved to Oregon like 2 weeks later.
God.
Yeah.
So
I don't do anything the easy way.
No.
I mean, I just, like, how can I complicate my life? Okay.
So then, when you went back to graduate, how old again? How old again were Lex and Leo when you went to graduate school?
So I've been dead for about 2 years. So Lex was in kindergarten. I think Lex had
So
started kindergarten. Leo was probably on 2.
5 and 2. So single mom, 2 kids, that 5 and 2, and you go back to graduate school. How did you do that?
I don't know. It was just the next step. I don't know. Like, so, I mean, being here in graduate school and just everything that's played out in my life, and my friends will say this, I just always seem to have good favor. Things just kind of like work out in life for me. And, you know, I think it's because God has a plan for my life, and it doesn't make sense. I mean, it was not on my radar to ever move to the beach. And this is like right where I'm supposed to be. I don't know. It was just, I didn't even know I wanted to be a school counselor. I mean, I saved money. I quit my job. I quit my job with no plan. I just knew I can't do this with my family. I went to California to visit my dad and my sister. And then I just was like, well, okay, I'm going to go to grad school. And I didn't know what for. And then I invested. I was a youth leader. And I thought, I like high school students. And I like working with people. And I'll be a school counselor. I mean, it was okay.
It just seemed to make sense.
It just worked out.
So when you, I mean, it sounds like when you went off to graduate school, it never occurred to you, I mean, I won't say never, but it sounds like you were just like, okay, this is what I'm going to go do.
Yeah.
There wasn't a great deal of, okay, there's no way I can do this. It was just, no, I'm going to go do this. How do you, that's a mindset, it strikes me, that's very different than most of our students here at Taft. Their mindset is, with so many of them, I can't. And it's a 6-year battle in this place to simply get them to believe they can. How do you, I will admit that I have a hard time sometimes dealing with kids that say I can't, because I've always been like you. I just know I can.
Yeah, you just make it happen.
Don't tell me what I can't do, because I know you're wrong, and have a nice day. How do you convince kids they can, especially when you don't have a personal reference point of knowing what that feels like?
Yeah. I don't think I can convince them. I mean, I think when I talk with kids, I'm like, well, try it. You got nothing to lose. Like, just do what I tell you to do. Just try it out and see. Let me know how that works out for you. But it is hard. I mean, kids have excuses for everything. And they are good excuses. Yep, you have crappy parents. Yep, they didn't graduate high school. You live in you have all these reasons. Absolutely. Okay, so what are you going to do with it? I mean, you can feel sorry for yourself. You can do that. Or you can do something different. So, and I always tell them this story. It sticks out in my mind. So there was a kid last year, and I didn't know him too well. He wasn't, a kid on my radar too much. But he left school and didn't graduate. And the fall this year, I took the boys to McDonald's to get him a Happy Meal. And he gave us our food through the drive-through window. And I thought, this is what happens if you drop out of school. Like, do you want to be serving? Not that those are awful jobs, but you don't have to do that. You have a choice to do something bigger and better, and you can do it. Like, no, I just don't think there's any excuse.
I don't either. I think, I guess right now this isn't so much an interview as a discussion. Before I came to Taft, I taught in Aberdeen, Washington, which is very blue collar. I mean, when you hear about the towns where the logging mills all shut down and cast the town into the toilet, this is a poster child. I mean, Kurt Cobain is from Aberdeen and he killed himself. Somehow everybody was like, well, yeah, that's what we do around here. Okay. And what I found really sad was that there were so many kids that had these hopes and dreams and things they wanted to do and just made bad choices that kind of ensured they were never going to happen. And I thought at the time that was the hardest thing I would ever deal with. I was wrong. I came here, and what I find is the number of kids that don't have any hopes and dreams whatsoever. I mean, to them, there is no point in even having them, because there is such a disconnect between that world that exists and where they are, that there is no point in even aspiring to it, because in their minds, it's as far-fetched as me saying I'm going to flap my arms and go to China. And,
Yeah.
and that's what I have a hard time wrestling with.
I think it's hard for our kids to think beyond Lincoln City. And I mean, I grew up in
It's
California,
fascinating.
coming from Salem, and it was like going back 10 years, moving here. And there's so many good things about a small town that you can't get anywhere else. I mean, there's great things about this place, but there's limits here too. I mean, when kids start talking to me about college, I'm like, get out of here, go away from Lincoln City, go get educated, go travel, go do something. Come back if you want to come back. That's great. Get out of here for a while.
That's what I tell all of them. Because, what I've always, these people that bitch about living here. And I wrote a column one time. I said, it's Stalinist Russia. It's not Stalinist Russia. Go, leave.
Yeah.
And I tell the kids that too. I said, look, if this really is the crap hole of the universe, then get out of here.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, you know what? The vast majority of you, you're right. You will never come back.
Mm-hmm.
But some of you will. And I said, but at least you'll have the satisfaction of knowing you didn't spend the rest of your life complaining that you never got out of here.
Yeah.
And again,
my town was like that where I grew up. I knew I will amount to nothing if I stay in this town. And my sister still lives there and might have friends, and there's a few that did something and are teachers now, but there's some, you have to go and you have to experience life and other cultures and people that are different than you and look different and have different ideas, and you can't get your news off the Galucci's board every week. You have to go and be part of something, and you find, when there's other opportunities, you find more of who you're about. I mean, I had never heard of sociology before I went to college. Never.
Isn't that the truth?
Yeah.
That's what, and it's interesting because it's such a battle as I talk to the kids these days. On the one hand, you're right. I remember when I went to college, I could not believe all the ologies and all the classes.
Yeah.
I mean, I took a psychology class my first semester in college. I was like, this is incredible. Humans understand the brain.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just made up. I mean, I really was. I was totally captivated. And I do fear, and this is what's sad, is that when I went off to school, a semester of tuition at the University of Colorado in state, it's just over $1,000.
Yeah.
It was not okay, you're going to spend 2 years taking general credits, and today you're going to spend 2 years racking up general credits, and you're going to build a debt load that may strangle you for the rest of your life.
Yeah, let me show you my Sally Mae bill. She pretty much owns my soul.
Yeah, and I had the luxury of going when it was affordable, and so now so many of our kids, it's like I'm like, for God's sakes, go to a 4-year school, go take electives in things you've never heard of, and yet you have to balance that against the fact that they don't have any money. And they're like, I really feel like I should go to Oregon Coast Community College for 2 years, get the associates, because I'm absolutely flat broke. And so how do you argue with that? And yet I see so many of them go, and they're drifting because they're taking, and I don't mean any disrespect towards OCCC, but they're basically taking higher level classes in what they've already done. They're not getting an opportunity to go explore things that they didn't think existed in the first place.
Yeah.
And that kills me.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think it comes back to our mindset. It's like, well, just go, just do it, just figure it out. I mean, my mom was a teacher, but she didn't help me with scholarships. She didn't help me with financial aid. She didn't pay for any of my college. I mean, no textbooks, nothing. I had no help. You figure it out. I mean, I was the bird at Red Robin.
Shut up.
Yeah, and that
really?
helped pay. Yep, that helped pay for college. I bartended. I was a server. When I lived in Santa Barbara. I'm like 17 when I moved to Santa Barbara. I don't know what my mom was thinking now, because you would never ever ever do this in this world. But I moved in with this old guy, and all I had was a room. I rented a room and a bathroom. I wasn't allowed to go to any other part of the house. I had a room and a bathroom for $275 because that's all I could afford. And I went to college, and I'm alive. I mean, I think about it now, I'm like, that was probably a bad idea. I mean, I don't know. He said he ate algae, but, I mean, who knows what was going on? Who knows? Like,
I'm just still fascinated with the Red Robin bird.
That was the Red Robin bird. You figure it out. You go. There's a plan for your life. You gotta. I think a little bit of it is my faith too. Like, you just. you were meant for more in this life than to just do nothing. And
Well, you know, I'm not not a terribly religious person, but one of the things I'm coming to discover, knowing so many people in this school that are, is that there is something to be said for not always knowing where you're going, not even knowing how you're going to get there, but just simply knowing that whatever it is you elect to do, there's a reason you're doing it. And I do find that, I think that's why for so many of our kids that get involved in young life and so many of those things, it's like one of the few things that keeps their head above water. Because when they don't have any other reason to do things, that's the reason. And yeah, school fascinates me. And yet every time I don't really think about leaving because I love it here. Every time I ponder people that teach in other schools, I'm just kind of like, gosh, that sounds easy.
yeah.
You say you get to teach all day? Huh, what's that like?
Yeah. It's unique here, and I think, things work out the way that they should for a reason. And, it's always easy when things are going well in your life to be like, woo, yay, God has a plan for my life, and things always work out for me. But I've had some crappy parts of life, too, that have been really, really, really hard. And I always tell kids, too, like, the pain that you're feeling, it's not wasted. Pain is never wasted. You always learn something. You always come out with a virtue. You've learned something from that. Even if you don't know it, you made it through just making it through.
Well, that's what I wish that so many of our kids understood. The things you have endured, if you could understand the value of it, you've got a better resume than 90% of the people you'll ever meet.
Yeah.
And yet they don't understand that they could channel it into being a source of strength as opposed to a reason to stop. And, if somebody could bottle what makes the Jaslyn Mitchells of the world, be able to just toss that stuff aside and say, this
where I'm going.
Yeah.
Nothing's going to stop me.
And obviously, if it was that easy, we wouldn't be here. We'd have bottled it, sold it, and we would have one of those big homes on the beach.
Yeah, drinking margaritas.
Well, thank you. I'm sure once I sit down and write all this up, I'll think of something else. And I haven't heard from Stephanie yet, so I'm assuming they still want us in Bend. She hasn't given me a reason to think they don't.
Did she, do you have to write a proposal or anything, or she's just going to give you a session?
She just was trying, I think it was more along the lines of not saying no, it was more along the lines of where do we fit.
Okay.
And I told her what my idea was that, we could do what I thought would be most valuable is do like a breakout. It's like we'll have a table there, then we'll have like our DVDs and our book and our graphic novel and all that stuff and say, the people of Taft did this, and here's been the value. If you'd like to learn what we did and how we did it, stop on by. And maybe we do like a 3-minute, like throw our video up on the screen for 3 minutes just to kind of tease it.
Yeah.
So I don't really know what she wants us to do. I just know whatever she asks, we'll do it.
Yeah.
So.
She's awesome.
Kids are psyched.
Did you hear about the new money?
Is this all the money
Brian
got?
About that,
yeah, I heard about it.
Yeah.
And if there is, if you hear about anything else, like I say, this.
I absolutely.
Thing.
It's Garrett money. Like, why would we not use it? And it's about to be gone. So.
Well, now, is there a chance that we're going to get on with the extension of it before?
I don't think so. I think Garrett and Stephanie said this. I think it's on its last legs. I think and something else will come. There's always something.
Well, I know what we're doing.
I don't think so.
I know what we're doing. We plan to do it every year. And so, who knows, maybe it's something we sell advertising in, and I'm always worried selling advertising in something I've yet to do. We're going to do this amazing thing. You should give us money, and then it blows up. I don't have your money anymore?
Yeah, well, that's part of, the Taft Film Festival, that money that's raised there will help things like this that Garrett paid for.
Yep.
So we're hoping it becomes a big...
I'm hoping I can still get to that everyday democracy money.
Have you called him?
I called Kim, and she said, we may have sent the rest of it back if you didn't use it. I was like, oh, that would be not good. So she's checking.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so. Boy, Scott sees the bills at the end of the year. Shoot me.
Uh-oh.
Well, it's a good and bad thing. I
I think we're gonna break even, but if we don't, I can tell them with a clear conscience that we'll break even